Okay. We are pretty much coming up on time, but just to finish off, can you tell me a story about your career? Something that was interesting that happened or dramatic?
How about I tell you the story about how I almost burnt down the server room at my first tech job?
Like physically burned?
Well, no, just really, really high heat. No fire was involved, but yes, I did say that for dramatic impact. But how I exposed a whole bunch of servers to very, very, very high heat, and made it very hot in the server room, I could talk about that.
Yeah, let's do this.
So how did I burn down the server room? So what I was just out of college and I was working on my alma mater, the University of South Florida. I worked for research computing. So they ran Beowulf clusters, and our customers were, of course, research professors and their teams to run, their scientific compute on these systems. So in the library on the top floor, there was a teeny tiny little data center. It was probably, I don't know, maybe 300 square feet, maybe, if, in just one big hall. And there were a bunch of racks of servers in there. Well, one day I got an alert that something was going on in that room, and we were using Nagios at the time. And I was kind of new to Nagios, like I didn't really know how it worked and how to configure it and everything. So I was just getting alerts. So I decided to SSH into the Nagios server and stop the service while I went and fixed the issue. Instead of me downtiming it or acknowledging it, like I didn't understand. I just turned the thing off. It's not sending me texts anymore. I'm going to go fix the issue and turn it back on. Right? So I forgot to turn it on after I was done working. And by a stroke of really, really bad luck, now remember, I mentioned this was like, a few hundred square feet, very small room, top floor of the library. I did not say it was like an actual data center. The single gigantic air conditioning unit on the back at the top of the building that was responsible for cooling this room failed. Oh. And it just was by a stroke of this bad luck that the Nagios service that I turned off was the Nagios service that was responsible for monitoring the ambient temperature of the room. And there was an event handler that was configured in Nagios on this Nagios instance that would go and IPMI kill all of the servers if that were to take place. But because the monitoring system was not on, that did not happen. So when I came in the following morning to start my day, all, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, you could hear off in the distance a little beep, 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 which was basically the APCs just crying and bawling their eyes out. And someone who was working with me in the building was like, Amin, can you go check that out? And I walked back there and I realized what was happening. And I put my hand against the glass because there was a glass, window in front of the room so you can see the servers, and it was hot to the touch. So I opened it up. I turned on there was a big fan in there. I blasted all the hot air out of there, turned all the machines off, and I felt so terrible. And my manager was at a conference, so I was minding the store, right? And this happened on my watch, so it was a really vulnerable moment for me, but I managed to come clean and say, yep, this is what happened. And luckily my boss, Brian Smith, he works at Apple now. He was really, really nice and was like, that could have happened to me too. It's totally okay. And thank goodness the servers are very old and they were at their end of life anyway. But yeah, that was the day I burnt down the server room at my first job.
Wow. Oh man, my palms are sweating here, that story. Thank you for sharing it.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah. That's why I tend to keep postmortems blameless these days, because I know how it feels,